How can the United States be the world's largest oil producer and yet still rely heavily on imported oil? It feels like someone growing wheat on their own land but still asking neighbors for flour. The modern world often looks simple on the surface, but the real story underneath is usually more complicated. Another strange thing happens in global trade every year. Millions of containers travel from China to the United States, yet many of those containers do not go back. Instead, a large number of them end up sitting unused for long periods. And in the middle of all this, there's a third question people ask. How does Iran manage to expand its aircraft fleet even under long-term sanctions? The world runs on container ships. At any given moment, hundreds of thousands of ships are active across the oceans. These include oil tankers, LNG carriers, tugboats, passenger ships, and the ships that quietly move the world's economy, container ships. Around 90% of global trade moves by sea. Thousands of container ships are traveling at the same time, carrying goods worth millions of dollars. If you use ship tracking platforms, the ocean looks like a field of moving lights. Each light represents a ship loaded with products that will end up in homes, stores, and factories. A huge share of these ships leave from China and head to Europe and North America. Many vessels carry thousands of containers on a single trip. This is how phones, clothes, electronics, and everyday items travel across the world. On paper, it looks like a simple loop. A ship delivers goods, and then empty containers return to be used again. In reality, global trade is not balanced. China exports far more than it imports, so containers leave China full at a massive scale. In contrast, the US imports far more than it exports because it is one of the world's biggest consumer markets. That creates a major container imbalance. Many containers arrive in American ports, but there isn't enough outbound cargo to send the same number of containers back full. Some containers do return full, but a large percentage do not. Sending an empty container back can cost thousands of dollars, and it also takes up space that could be used for a full profitable container. On top of that, manufacturers can often build a new container in Asia for less than the cost of shipping an empty one back. So, what happens to the containers that don't return? Many are sold for storage or construction use because containers can be converted into offices, shops, and even homes. Others are eventually recycled for steel, since a single container contains a large amount of metal. That is why you may see large stacks of containers near ports that stay there for a long time. They are not just boxes, they are a visible sign of how uneven global trade has become. Now to the question that confuses many people. The United States leads the world in oil production, yet it also ranks among the biggest oil importers. It produces oil, exports a lot of it, and still buys oil from other countries for its own use. There are three main reasons behind this. First, not all oil is the same. Much of the oil produced in the United States is light crude, which is thinner and easier to flow. However, many older US refineries were designed to process heavy crude because the US historically imported heavy crude from places like Mexico and Venezuela. Converting refineries to process much more light crude would require major upgrades that could cost extremely large amounts. Instead, companies often export light crude and import heavy crude that fits existing refinery setups better. Second, logistics inside the US can be difficult. Oil production centers and refinery locations are not always close to each other. In some regions, pipelines do not connect supply and demand efficiently. This can make it expensive or slow to move domestic oil to the places where it is needed most. Third, a shipping rule adds extra cost. A US law commonly discussed in this context is the Jones Act, which requires that certain shipping between US ports must use US-built ships with US crews. Because US shipbuilding and labor costs are higher, coastal transport can become more expensive. That can make imported oil seem cheaper in some situations, even when domestic oil exists. Put these together, and you get a strange outcome. The US can produce huge volumes, yet still import oil because of refinery design, transport constraints, and shipping costs. Finally, the transcript discusses Iran's aviation situation under sanctions. The key idea is that sanctions limit direct transactions, so aircraft deals can involve complex ownership trails and international registrations. These routes often rely on multiple interactions and logistical maneuvers.